everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you cannot hear this echo, and maybe I should pause this and check, but hopefully it can come away in the editing. If you guys have watched my previous vlogs, then you may know that I have recently moved to DC because my circuit court clerkship is coming to an end. I'm going to be doing the last week or so remotely from DC because my lease in the previous city was up. So that is why my apartment is completely empty. My firm has paid to ship my things and they have not arrived yet when I'm filming this video. So actually for the next few videos, because I do batch record, you will see an empty apartment. Okay, but I will keep you updated. You'll see a vlog when my furniture does finally come. If you guys are new here, welcome. I hope you hit the subscribe button. If you are returning, welcome back. So for today's video, we're gonna be talking about 10 things every law school applicant and law school student needs to know before starting law school. So without further ado, I'm gonna jump right into the video, starting off with number 1. The first thing you need to do as you are preparing to start law school is clear your schedule. I'm talking everything off your schedule. Whatever friend dates, whatever regular dates, whatever family stuff, try to get all that in before you start law school. You want to clear your schedule so that when you are going in, you can fully immerse yourself to learn what you need to learn when law school actually begins. And essentially what I mean here is orientation really isn't going to teach you that much. Honestly, it's not going to teach you that much. However, when you start law school, you need to be able to figure out what works for you. And you are going to need the time to be able to figure that out. So just to give you a concrete example, when I first started law school, I started doing my readings during the week. So I was doing my reading only like 1 or 2 days in advance, and sometimes just 1 day in advance. And so I would come home from class and be reading for the next day's class. I hated it. Okay, I felt rushed. I didn't like it. I felt like I was procrastinating. I hated it. And so I adjusted my schedule. And switched to doing my readings on the weekend so that I would be reading a full week or at least 4 days in advance. Right? And I could do that because I had cleared my schedule, right? I didn't have all these prior commitments that I had to attend to so when it was time for me to make that adjustment, I was able to do it. There's also going to be things like networking events. There's also going to be things for you to learn more about the law school, learn more about organizations, learn more about extracurriculars. You are going to want to be able to attend those things. Law school is more than just putting your head in the books. You are there to land a job. And so you want to be able to attend those events that's going to facilitate that process of you landing a job. So clear your schedule. Make sure you are ready and able to fully immerse yourself into the law school experience, especially in those first 1 to 2 months, 1 to 3 months when you were starting. Also, when you first start law school, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, this is a breeze. And so that's the perfect time for you to really immerse yourself and start learning and start getting a taste of all these different things, okay? Number 2, if your school offers pre-law or like other networking events, so like certain groups, for example, at Georgetown, RISE was the pre-law program, the BALSA had like some pre-law school programs, attend those events, okay? It's gonna give you an opportunity to meet upperclassmen, to talk to them, get advice from them, and ask them for outlines, which is so important, right? So essentially you're getting your toes wet before law school actually starts. And this is going to put you miles ahead of the people who don't do this. Again, because they're going to be able to give you advice on scheduling, give you advice on studying, give you advice on reading. And when you first start law school, you're going to get tons of advice coming in from so many different directions. And ultimately, you test things out, you try things out, and you decide what works and what is best for you. Whatever doesn't work, you leave it. Whatever works, you take it. But knowing is better than not knowing, and attending these events in advance, again, it's just going to add to that breadth of knowledge that is going to be helpful to you as you prepare to start law school. Number 3, create a schedule. Oh my goodness. Okay, I already have a video up and I'll put it somewhere on the screen or in the description box, the card on what you need to do to prepare for law school. I think that's what it's called or something along those lines. But you need a schedule. Your schedule should outline when your classes are, the hours, the days, how many credit hours, and you should also be putting in your sleep time, your wake up time, your gym time, your fun time, leaving room for networking. And if you do it right, you will have ample time. So I walk my students through this. In my coaching community, Topping the Curve, you have ample time for free time. You have ample time for networking. And this is when you're including your study time, when you're including going to professor's office hours, when you're including all those things. So you need to create that schedule. You don't want to go into law school blind or starting the school year blind and just like winging it, right? Law school, when the way it works is the more prepared you are, the better you are likely to perform, right? And so typically what I recommend here is using Google Calendar, or using like some type of thing that can sync across all of your documents or all of your devices so that you can see it always. So for me, I would put in color code what class, what time, what day, what professor. I would then go in and add their office hours, days, and times. I would add in when I would study. So remember, I just told you that I ended up switching my study schedule. That's another reason I could do that. I added in when I would be going to the gym, when I would be eating dinner, when I would be waking up, when I would be having fun, any travel time. I just walked, so that was only like a 10 to 15 minute walk, right? But put all those things in your schedule, because then you will be able to see how much time you have available, even outside of just like focusing on law school. And that's gonna help you when things kind of get hasty further down the line and you need to like maybe move things around. Or like me, it's gonna help you adjust your schedule as need be, right? And so when you're doing your schedule in terms of your classes, make sure you're putting in enough study time per credit hour for the classes that you are taking. Wow, I'm flying through these. Okay, so we are now on number 4. Networking is just as important, if not right underneath, grades. Okay, you are in law school to get a job. You do not want to just go to law school and solely focus on getting the grades. You also want to spend time and put effort into networking, right? Because I always say, and I say this to my clients, and they see it time and time again, and I'll tell you an example of that. When your grades cannot get you the job, networking will get you the job. Networking will do the rest. I had a couple of clients last year, so they just finished their 1L year earlier in May, and they didn't finish where they wanted to be grade-wise. Some of them were right at median, or some of them above median. None of my clients are below median, I'll tell you that, okay? But some of them are, majority of them are like right around that 35%, so just missed that top third. Some of them the 40%, or some of them like a little bit above median. Essentially, they weren't where they wanted to be, which is that top of the class, so that top third or higher. But however, all of them were able to land the jobs they wanted. All of them were also doing networking in addition to focusing on their grades. One of them, which was one who was like slightly above median, landed a big law job early in the summer, even before OCI happened, right? And so I have so many examples of this, and I can attest to it myself. If you want to hear my story about that, go watch my video on how I landed multiple big law firm offers by 1L year, because a lot of that was through networking. So do it. Make sure you do it. And maybe I'll do a whole separate video on networking. You can let me know down in the comments below if you're interested in that. Number 5, get outlines from upperclassmen. If I could shout this to the rooftops, I would. Your success in law school, or your grades, at least your 1L year, I think in part will depend on how strong your outlines are, especially if your exams are open book, and actually maybe even more so if your exams are closed book, because your outline is essentially the summary of the entire class from start to end. So from August to November, from August to December, and it is distilled into the essential concepts, the rules of law, the application, whatever it is that you need to know for the exam. So the stronger your outline, the more information you know, the more information you can retain, the better answers you are going to have when you are taking that outline and applying those rules of law, applying those concepts, applying those conceptualizations to the exam of fact patterns. And so here,
You want to get outlines from upperclassmen. Why? Because they have taken the class before. They have had your professor before. Get their outlines and keep them. And you refer to them as you're studying throughout the semester. You build your outline off of theirs throughout the semester, or you write your notes directly into their outline. There's so many different ways to do it. I teach my clients 3 different ways of working with upperclassmen's outlines. But the point is, get their outline because it is going to be a contributor to your success, if not one of the biggest portions of it, okay? And then this is a whole nother thing, a whole nother video on exam preparation, but you need to know your outline like the back of your hand, okay? Now we go to number 6. Cold calls do not matter. Cold calls don't matter. You are not graded on your cold call. So yes, maybe you're going to be nervous, maybe you're going to be a little sweaty, maybe a little anxious when you get your first cold call, but they don't matter. They do not matter. They're not a portion of your grade. The only thing that matters is the exam. Now you want to do your reading, you want to still be prepared for class, but whether the car was blue or red, or whether his arm broke or his leg broke, or that doesn't matter, right? Because that's not the same fact pattern that you're going to get on your exam. The point is, don't fret too much about the cold call. Ultimately, the professor just wants to know that you did the reading, and that is to understand the rule of law. I also recommend getting a Quimbee. And ironically, that actually leads me to number 7, get Quimbee, okay? Get Quimbee. That's Quimbee. Quimbee is a great tool, and I recommend everyone use it because it summarizes each case. It gives you the rule of law, it gives you the facts, it gives you the takeaways. Even if you don't absolutely always rely on it, it's a good checking point for, did you understand this case correctly, right? Because you can go to Quimbee and get it. It's a good reference and resource to refer to when you are doing your reviews, when you are making your own outlines. It's got videos, it's got tons of things. And ultimately, one of the things that I recommend to my clients too is, there's a couple of different ways of using Quimbee, but one of them is absolutely reading the Quimbee case brief before you read it in the book. And I go into detail on that with my clients, but essentially Quimbee is a way to make sure that you are understanding the rule of law, that you are getting the right takeaway, because that's what you need to know for the exam to do well, okay? Number 8, think about your goals and see what you can do to prep for them during the school year. And this one is so important because, for example, if you're interested in big law and that's something that you want to do, then you're going to want to be networking and reaching out to those attorneys and building those relationships earlier on in the year. And I have tons of examples. If you do watch my big law video, I pretty much explain this T to T, A to Z. But another example is one of my top firm that I was actually interested in. I was interested in them from I was a 1L, and I started laying the seeds, attending events, talking to them, networking with them from my 1L year. And I didn't do OCI with them my 2L year because I didn't do OCI, and they reached out to me to interview for my 2L year. And so that's an example of what I mean. Another example is if you're interested in Department of Justice or other similar government programs, right? A lot of those programs hire a lot earlier than other law school or legal jobs. And so that application process begins a lot sooner. You may need to start applying in September or October or even November, right? And so you're going to need to know that. So it's a good idea to know what your goals are and see and learn about the steps you need to be taking to reach those goals. Number 9. Do not wait until Thanksgiving to start prepping for the exam. That is probably the biggest mistake that you can make, because while you're cramming at Thanksgiving trying to prep for the exam, the people who did it the right way have been prepping from the moment they set foot on campus. They listened, they watched this video, they had their schedule, they were making their outlines, they were taking practice sets, they were doing all of those things. And so when Thanksgiving rolled around, they're just continuing that prep and they're more likely to perform well on the exam. So don't wait until Thanksgiving to do your outlines. So wait on Thanksgiving to start your prep. And finally, number 10, do not let what other people are doing psych you out. When you first start law school, people are going to be like, how do you study? What do you study? I pulled an all-nighter. I did this. I'm doing this. People would ask me, I distinctly remember I was at a section pool party and someone asked me, oh, Sephora, I'm just going around. I'm curious. I'm asking other people, what are they doing? So I'm interested. What are you doing? And I was like, minding my business. Don't let people psych you out. That's like the biggest thing. You do what works for you, and other people will do what works for them. And just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean that you should start doing that thing, right? Those people who were up all night, pulling all-nighters and doing all that stuff, I graduated top of my class and they did not. So you don't know what someone else is doing. You don't know what their process is looking like or why they're doing it. So don't let that psych you out or make you think that you're not doing enough. And that is so easy of a trap to fall into when you're in law school. So just avoid it to the best of your ability. And that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. For law school coaching or law school applicant coaching, you can go to toppingthecurve.com and follow me on social media at toppingthecurve. And I will see you guys on my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.